Hello world, Nina and I are back, and this time we went on an adventure to the Ohio State University College of Nursing to interview the one, the only, Nurse Landers. Tell us about yourself.
Sure. My name is Tim Landers. I'm an associate professor here in the College of Nursing at Ohio State. My background is I'm a nurse practitioner, and my research here at the college is on the prevention and transmission of antibiotic-resistant infections.
How does AMR affect you in your daily life and in your job?
So antibiotic resistance, as you know, is a critically important public health threat. And as nurses, we're on the front line of seeing patients and what antibiotic-resistant infections can do to them and their families. And beyond the 2 million patients who get infections and the 23,000 deaths, there really are tremendous social, emotional consequences to an antibiotic-resistant infection. Worrying if it's going to come back, worrying is if this simple infection going to develop into a superbug. And so we have to do a lot of education, kind of reassurance of patients about their situation, but we really see the frontline impact of AMR, which beyond the kind of physical or financial impact really can be emotionally devastating. Some parts of the world, up to 1 in 9 people who go in the hospital will end up with a healthcare associated infection.
1 in 9?
1 in 9
oh my
in
gosh.
some parts of the world.
Yeah.
And so some of the strategies that we as nurses are looking into and really fall in our domain are hygiene measures, keeping the environment clean, hygiene, making sure that patients get their medications on time, the right dose. So that's kind of where our interests are.
What would you recommend for a medical professional to do if they're coming in and they're demanding a Z-Pak because they feel pretty sick and they just are like, give me my antibiotics right now?
Yeah, so as a nurse practitioner, I've heard that a lot. And if you sit down and talk to patients, really what they want to do is to feel better. And for some conditions, for sure, antibiotics, like azithromycin that you mentioned, can be life-saving drugs. But other times we know that the illness that the patient has is not going to respond to an antibiotic. And so I think patients want to be heard. They want to feel like somebody understands their symptoms, right? It's not quote unquote just a cold,
Yeah.
but it's, you know, that they're feeling not well and they want help getting better. So I think one of the things that we can do as healthcare providers is to identify that and reassure them about the nature and the course of their condition, what's going to happen. And let them know that we have other medications that we can treat them with their nasal congestion or their cough or their headache. And also to let them know that we would use antibiotics to help them feel better if we were confident that the benefits for that patient outweighed the risks.
Okay.
And so having that conversation, I think, is really important.
Yeah, and what would you recommend for healthcare professionals? What's the best way to communicate? Because sometimes it's hard, and not just with your patients, but with clients, like in veterinary medicine, because you still have to talk to people. You don't just talk to the animals.
Right. So I think some of the things that we can do are introduce the clinical terminology. So instead of saying that you have a cold with a runny nose, you have a upper respiratory infection with rhinorrhea, right? And that we have medications that are approved to treat that. So instead of kind of being dismissive, acknowledging what the patient has, the impact that it's having on their life, and then working with them to come up with a strategy that's actually going to help treat the condition that they do have.
What do you think the next steps are that we need to take as just a general population to kind of combat this problem of antimicrobial resistance?
So that's a great question. Of course, we need more research on antibiotic resistance in people and their companion animals, on antibiotic use in general. But antibiotics really are the only class of medication where if I take it and I don't need it, then you could be impacted, right? If I have high blood pressure and I decide not to treat it, it's probably not going to impact you.
Right.
So we need to come to understand, I think, antibiotic use as you said, a societal problem or something that we need to address socially, ecologically, and really look at all of the ways that antibiotic resistance could develop and what we can do to prevent it. So I think it's going to require a different way of thinking where we don't talk about just human healthcare providers or animal healthcare providers or people who are caring for livestock or people who are cleaning the hospital room. That it's really all of us need to work together to combat this problem.
Wow, thank you so much for all of that information, and I look forward to talking with you again.
It was a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Once again, thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And in the description section below, you'll be able to find our website, DogWellNet, where you can get more information on these subject matters.